Hi guys! Today we're going to talk about space again, because space is really cool, and I like space, and you should like space too! Okay, never mind. Last time I talked to you guys about Jupiter and how awesome it is, and why I think it's the best planet. And so this time I'm talking about Jupiter's moons, which are also cool, and basically planets themselves. So, here we go. Jupiter has 63 known moons, but that's a lot of moons, so that would take too long to only talk about 4 of them, which are the 4 most explored moons, and they're called the Galilean moons. They're called that because Galileo discovered them when he was alive a long time ago. There are 4 of them: Io, Europa, Ganymede, and Callisto. They go in that order from closest to Jupiter to farthest from Jupiter. Io, as I said, is closest to Jupiter. It's the most volcanically active thing in the solar system. When we first photographed it about 3 decades ago, we saw it was so new that it hadn't actually suffered any impact damage, but what it did have was several different volcanic eruptions while we passed by it. Not humans, obviously. Robots and stuff. Okay. Although Io is pretty young compared to most other things in the system, it's not young enough that it should have retained the heat that it got when it formed. So now what we assume is that it's keeping all this heat from what's called tidal heating. As you might know, Earth exerts a force on the moon called tidal force, which keeps the same spacing us all the time. Well, Jupiter is the same thing to Io, except Jupiter is so large compared to Io that the force is much worse, and also Io's orbit is more elliptical, which means that it changes slightly every so often. These tidal forces generate friction inside Io, which is what keeps it so hot, which is what keeps it so volcanically active, which is what keeps it so cool! Ah, space! The next moon is called Europa. It is also really awesome because it has water on it, and it's not Earth. Europa is covered in this layer of ice. Water, ice, H2O, you know, like water. But like Io, it also has some geological activity because of the tidal heating Jupiter exerts on it, but there's also less tidal heating than Io has because it's further from Jupiter. Europa does have a few impact craters from when it was forming, but a few have been erased by the geological activity that is still happening on that planet because of the tidal forces from Jupiter. The tidal forces might also be creating an ocean under the layer of ice on the surface of Europa, which would be really cool because water on some place other than Earth. What? Water! Ah! The tidal heating also probably is what creates the water. It keeps it warm enough to actually, churn and be water instead of ice. And if this ocean exists, some scientists say that it could be up to 100 kilometers deep, which is more than twice the amount of water we have on Earth, which is a lot of water, which is really cool. It's also possible that because there's water on Europa, there could be life on Europa. I don't know, it's possible! Ganymede is the next planet out. Ganymede is the largest of the 4 moons. It has both ice and geological activity, though not as much geological activity as Io or Europa does. It's also assumed that there's not enough tidal heating on Ganymede for there to be an ocean like there might be on Europa. However, there is data that suggests that there is an ocean under the ice. The surface of Ganymede has different tones. Some of them are really dark and old and densely cratered, which suggests that they formed a long time ago. Others are very light and not densely cratered, which suggests that water recently erupted to form like a new surface thing. The 4th moon is Callisto. At first, it just seems like a giant ball of ice, but upon further inspection, scientists have noticed that there's a dark powdery substance in the lower areas of the surface of the planet. The surface of Callisto is heavily cratered, which means that it's probably not had a lot of geological activity since it formed. All the bright spots you saw on the surface of the planet are impact craters. And like on Ganymede, there's magnetic field data that might support another subsurface ocean. If that's true, there'd be 3 water worlds that orbit Jupiter, which would be awesome. And if there is a subsurface ocean, we don't know what it is that makes the water hot enough to be water instead of ice. I say it's dragons. The information I get in this video comes from this textbook I had in my astronomy class. It's called The Essential Cosmic Perspective by authors Bennet, Donahue, Schneider, and Voit. I think they're pretty cool people. All the source information is going to be in the bottom bar box thing. So I'll see you next Friday. Have a nice week. Talk to you soon. Bye. Have fun.